This video is presented by the EA Creator Network. Hello, today I will be building a house for a Simmers collab hosted by Tinker Tailor over on Instagram. It is part of a larger save file where we were building lots with just one pack for that specific world, and I ended up picking Moonwood Mill because I love this world, but also I haven't really built with just werewolves in a very long time, and I thought that it would be nice to be able to revisit this pack like that. So when I was starting out, I was just trying to create an interesting looking cabin that had a lot of height to it, mostly in the roof, and I would just have it come along from there. And so I was playing around with the shape a little bit. I was trying to see where I could have like a brick chimney on the build in some area. And so I laid it out over here. This will change over time. It was mostly just me trying to see how I wanted it to sit. And I tried a thing where I stack just this chimney on top of each other over and over again because I thought it would like make sense and it would blend in well, but I really didn't like the white lines that were like throughout the entire thing. So I scrapped that entire idea, but for now it sits like this, and I do end up just using regular walls, and I use a red brick instead and a different chimney for that. Because you could even see now, it was like the white lines was really distracting for me, and I did not like it, but I just left it there and I was like, all right, I'll revisit that after and figure it out after. It's also been a long time since I think I've done a pack limit build using just a game pack, and Werewolves has a decent amount. And while I was doing this, I realized that Werewolves was the last game pack that we have gotten. It has been like, what, like 3 years since Werewolves came out? I can't remember exactly. It's been a long time, so for this to have been the last game pack, that was wild for me to see every time I went into sort by packs. I was like, we really haven't gotten a game pack since then. It's like the new stuff packs where we didn't have a stuff pack for so long, and then suddenly we got like a couple of them. Yeah, I had looked it up. Werewolves came out in 2022, so we really haven't gotten a game pack since then. But I really do love Werewolves. I remember when this came out, I felt like it was just game changing, and I'd never seen items like these ones with really pretty weathered wood swatches. And I was like praising this game pack for like the longest time. And so it's really nice to be building with it again. And it makes me want to do some other pack limited builds for occults, especially this October. I'm really excited to be able to do some Halloween builds. And if you are thinking about picking up any sorts of Halloween themed packs to get into the October season, please remember to use someone's creator code if you would like to support me. My code is CrackedKyber at checkout on the EA app. It's not a discount code, but it does help to support your favorite creators with a small commission if you are already buying a pack. I really love the occult packs in The Sims, even if I don't do gameplay like that often. And if you don't like playing with occults, I really love the build buy in all of them. And I feel like Werewolves works really well just to build rundown cabins. It was really one of the first packs that we got a lot of things to distress your house, because I always used to use the vampire like wall holes and spider webs and things like that. And then this one brought in a lot more of those types of things with wall cracks and like chipped wood and that you could just add to the sides of your house, as well as floor cracks, which wasn't something that we really had before. And that was really cool. Now we have kind of like stains and other things like that. But I really loved Werewolves when it came out. It had like everything that I really just needed to make rundown builds at the time, and like we've definitely gotten a lot of packs since then that does a similar thing, but Werewolves I was so excited about when it came out, and now I get to revisit it. by doing this collab. And you could see that I raised up the house a lot because I was envisioning a winding staircase leading through the terrain. And so I have multiple different levels. And I did try to put in a pond that ends up just getting deleted because I needed more space when I was making the staircase. Which, like this one, it's the staircase that I usually do. So, one that I did for my Enchanted by Nature build, but it's like a little bit more complicated, not like too much more complicated. It just feels that way when you are bringing it down sort of like an L, like an, I guess like an S or snake shape sort of pathway, but it's like the same sort of technique where you just have to smooth out the terrain a bunch, raise up the low level fences until it's even, and then connect it with another fence to make it feel like it is a built-in staircase. But I feel like the railings was a bit too much, so I left some of it not connected to each other because I was planning on just making it feel overgrown and putting a bunch of plants in between some of the gaps. And you can see right here what I mean about having to fix it up. You just want to make the terrain tool itself very weak and so that it just gradually changes and you just like bump it up and down until it looks like fine and looks even enough. I do like it to look a little bit crooked. That's sort of the vibe that I go for when I do those staircases because I want it to feel like an old broken down staircase. And now I'm just adjusting the rest of the terrain because I wanted this fence to go all the way around. I ended up cutting out me hiding some of the terrain paint, and I just do that by putting some debug rocks everywhere. I love this lot in the game. It's Prowler's Patch, and it's a 30 by 30 lot, which is my favorite size lot to build on. I think it's the perfect size. And the one thing I don't like about the lot is that I don't like the terrain paint when you use the terrain tools on this one. It's like a very light color, and I don't really like how it looks, but you just cover it up with a bunch of plants, a bunch of rocks, and then it looks fine. One thing that I felt was missing from Build By while I was doing this was the foundation swatches. I couldn't find any that I really liked, and so I kind of just had to settle on a base game stone one, but I really don't like the base game options very much. I like the one with the lattice in it, like that's used for decks and porches, which you can see right here, but it felt odd to have that around the back of the build where it looked like it needed a lot more support. And so I like really noticed that we don't have a lot of options for stone ones in base game itself. And I mean, Werewolves is just a game pack. I don't think it came with any of those. And normally I like to pair, I think it's the Outdoor Retreat one with pretty much any pack, but also there's like the get together ones. So I was really missing those while I was doing this build, but I was able to just kind of like look over it. You can see I was like trying to experiment with different stuff. And honestly, maybe just that gray and with the brown wooden trim around the house, maybe that one is a bit better. I can go back in after and change some things if I do decide to do that because I still need to play test it. I might have a video at the end of me doing that because I think these stairs should be fine. The main problem with terrain like this is sometimes some of the landscape items will be in the way of your Sims walking, and that's usually what has to move. But the terrain itself, it's usually just completely fine. It's not like too steep where your Sims can't walk up it, but some of these plants might be kind of need to be like shifted over if your Sims can't actually walk around a lot. And sometimes your Sims will just walk right through rocks and stuff if it's not like accessible. But I don't think they would be able to do that because where I have the rocks, it is actually steep, so they wouldn't be able to find a way around. We'll get to that when we need to, but I feel confident that it will be an easy fix at least. But I decided to use pops of purple in the landscape. I thought it looked really pretty. I have some white flowers around, a lot of overgrown grass throughout the entire landscape, just to fill in some of the areas too, to make it feel a lot more natural and try to not leave out like too much empty space because I was worried that it would just be really empty towards the sides. And so I was really trying to just not have that be the case. And now you can see me putting some of the rocks in because I did skip the entirety of me doing the front of the house. But you can see how I did it now in a smaller part of the build and just using the tool mod to slide the rocks over just a little bit and sizing them down and moving them just anywhere where I think it would fit a little bit more naturally. These ones are from werewolves, so there is a little bit of moss on top of the rocks, which is really pretty. And I feel like I ignore these rocks all the time for other ones, but I think it looks really nice, especially with creating more of like it feels like there's more layers in the terrain now because of the amount of like moss that is in the different levels of the rocks, and I think it looks really pretty. Another thing that I didn't show me doing was adding some of those chipped wood pieces on the exterior of the build. I sized them up. You can see them just in some areas of the build. I thought it would just make it look a little bit more worn down and add a little bit more detail. And I added another part onto the house because I felt like it needed something over here. And then I have a doorway that's off to the side that leads to the back path. I was going to say backyard, but there is no backyard. It is just a pathway that leads down and around the house to a picnic area where I think there might be enough space. But again, that's another thing I'm going to have to play test to make sure that Sims can use that area because it is very narrow over there. That's the only spot that I don't feel confident will work. And I was using some of the werewolf stairs for the porches. They are a metal staircase, which I don't usually get a lot of use out of, but I decided to put them in this one. I feel like it fits in nice. It's not that noticeable. I definitely didn't want it on the interior, though the interior is all like a lot of natural wood, and I use pretty much just the same wood flooring and wood paneling throughout the entire house, so it would look a bit odd if I used metal staircases in it, but just the base game wooden ones look completely fine anyway. And I think that like the only time I use a different staircase is me just being extra because really the base game ones are fine. While I was saying that though, I was thinking how there was a staircase I had in mind that I wish that I could have used, and then I just remembered that it was the horse ranch ones, which I think are the only like really like cool staircases that I can think of where it has the really pretty wood texture on it. And that would have been really cool in this build. I really struggled with the windows on the back of this build, so I played around with a lot of different things, and I actually just extend the top part out just a little bit because I felt like it looked really flat and weird and I needed something else. And it definitely helped a lot. I did put some windows on the stone part down below, but I do delete the ones right in the back because the kitchen and I felt like I needed to free up that wall space. And now we're on the inside. I didn't show me putting in the tiles and the wallpapers and stuff, but I'll just talk about it briefly because the walls itself are just base game wood panel walls, which I really love these walls. I use them in a lot of builds of mine. Just base game wooden floors, which I also use in every single build. And now I'm using the werewolves tiles, which is a tile that I rarely use for some reason. I'm not sure why, because I really like how they look, and I feel like I need to use them more often, especially in bathrooms. I think it would look really nice. And I guess I'm also using base game brick walls. I can't really tell if those were werewolves ones because we did get some different brick in werewolves, but I can't remember if they actually are or not. And then I just use regular base game counters because I don't think we got any in werewolves. So this is all just base game stuff in the kitchen, except for just some clutter here and there. I have learned over a lot of time of building that I really do love base game though, especially these counters. They are very like easy go-to for me. I really like them as well as the cabinets. I use the cabinets like pretty often. And it was so nice to build with just a game pack and base game because it doesn't take as much time. And I say this every time I do a pack limited build, and how it's just so much less scrolling around in the catalog. And I didn't use any of the special event items, but I did see that it was allowed in the collab. So if you're like downloading builds from the collab, there might be some that have reward items used. And if you're interested in like checking out other builders who have created builds for the collab, we're using the hashtag one world one pack on the gallery, so you could find a bunch of pack limited builds that way. I really love collabs like this. I love seeing simmers build with limited packs. I feel like it's also just a lot of fun to build that way too. And I remember when I hosted a shell challenge and I made one of the rules to only use 3 packs. And I love to see what packs people wanted to choose for that. And like it makes me want to do another, like host another shell challenge. One day I will maybe get around to doing that. But in the meantime, I think that you should expect some more pack limited builds from me in between some of my like Hopperdale uploads that I'll be having soon, because I am feeling very inspired. And I do want to try and do a pack limited build for every occult pack this October. So that's what I'm really hoping for. Except for mermaids. I'm just not into mermaids. So I don't think I would do a mermaids one. A siren would be cool, but I really don't think I could pull that off with a limited pack. I don't even know what comes with island living. I don't think that that would be possible for me to do. I won't rule it out completely. I'd have to look and see, but I mostly just want to do like a vampire build. I want to do a spellcaster build. I mean, I do so many spellcaster builds, but I haven't done just a Realm of Magic base game one. And if I have, it's been a long time because I can't remember if I've ever actually done that before. I've done vampires before, but that was also years ago. So I feel like it's time for me to revisit some of these packs and do pack limited builds for them. And werewolves is the first one. Even though it wasn't really in my mind that werewolves lived here, I was just kind of using the items, but they could live here. There's plenty of space for a whole werewolf family because there is like, I guess like a parent's room. Then there's a room with bunk beds in it, so that's 2 beds. And then there's like a little nursery where 2 kids can stay too. So what is that, like a family of 6? And they're pretty good sized bedrooms too, considering that I tend to not be able to build large homes very well. But this one had a lot of space. There's even an office downstairs, so there's like extra space for that. The kitchen is huge. I feel like the dining room isn't very cramped either. I think each room has a really good amount of space for each of its purpose. And there's also 3 bathrooms in here, which I don't think I show me decorating every single bathroom, but you'll see it throughout the video anyway. They all pretty much have very similar things. And I did talk over a lot of me doing the dining room. I feel like the dining room, I just wanted it to feel kind of like a greenhouse space too, where they have a bunch of plants. And I really loved the chandelier over the dining room table. I never used that base game light ever, and it looked really nice. I think I had to size it down a little bit, but once I did, it ended up looking really good. One thing that I did realize that I had forgotten that I wanted in here was a fireplace for the chimney smoke. And so I didn't actually have one, and I was trying to squeeze one in upstairs, but it was like in the hallway, and I felt like that was such a weird place to put a fireplace. And now that I'm looking at the living room, one could have fit really nicely where that sort of like trunk is. That's something that I could maybe swap out when I go back into the build. I'm not like 100% certain on what I'm going to change, but maybe it would look better if I fit the fireplace in. Unless it's a little bit too big, then it might not fit in. But I guess we could see after if that's something that I could work out. I do think the foyer came out really cute. There isn't like too much in here, but it feels very cozy, And I like how warm it looks too with the lighting and just like the different colors that I picked out for here with like the more like reddish rug and the green side table. I think they look really nice together. I was trying to see if I wanted to have a closet kind of on a diagonal, but it was not working. So I just like put an archway, made it like a normal looking closet just because I didn't know what I wanted to do with that tiny space. And from the start, I had figured that I would make it some sort of closet or put a mirror over there or something like that. And I also really like the cute chair in the foyer. It feels very like realistic and natural. Also, building a cabin really just felt fitting for the fact that new expansion pack is coming out this week. And I think that I might have a video up already of like the expansion pack. I don't know what I'm doing this week yet, but it's a possibility that you might have already seen something with the new pack for me, if not very soon, because this is going up on Wednesday, I think. Either way, I'm excited to be able to make some more cabins soon. And I had watched a build by overview, and I'm really excited about some of the furniture that is coming with it. And I really want to make like a haunted campground, probably for my Copperdale save file. So I'm just really excited. And I did want to mention that this is probably one of the largest bathrooms I've made in a long time. It was just like it had so much space, but it worked out great. It's very rare that I'm able to fit in a bathtub and a shower separately into a bathroom. And so I managed it here and also a separate toilet space and three counters. The only thing missing is a mirror because I had a window above the mirror. So there's no mirror in the bathroom. There is one right outside the bathroom door. So I guess that's okay, right? I don't think it makes up for it, though it really doesn't. But that's okay. There's no mirror in the bathroom, and there's not going to be because there's really not any space in this bathroom. And I do have a pretty cozy, small office space, which I think my original vision was going to be a mudroom, and then I didn't end up doing that, and so it is just an office space, which I think is more practical and functional anyway. And if you see me constantly going to check the roof of my build, it's because when I was doing the floor plan, the plants on the roof got deleted, and so every time I kind of changed things around, I was just making sure that all the plants were still on the roof. I was also trying to decide what rooms I want it to be sort of like the parents' bedroom, and it made me end up just expanding one of the rooms a tiny bit and make that room the parents' room, and then this other weirdly shaped room have, well, I guess they're not bunk beds because one isn't actually right under the bed. Is that still considered a bunk bed? I don't actually know the logistics of it, but there are still two beds. One is a loft bed and one is slightly under it. And then the other room I have set up for a toddler and a baby, so that could have two Sims there. You'll probably fit an infant bed in somewhere. I just really liked the look of the werewolves toddler bed. I haven't even looked at this bed in so long, and so when I had seen it again, I was like, why do I never use this bed in like any of my builds when I do end up doing like a toddler bed? I never reach for this one, but I think it's really cute and I love the comforter of it and like the quilt pattern. It's really pretty. I think this room is another favorite of mine in the house, which like it's the nursery room. I put some decals on the wall after as well and probably some more toys. I don't know. I do want to add a little bit more clutter onto that console table because I put it there and then I didn't actually put anything on it. So maybe that's another thing I will do at the end. I may like have that recorded too while I'm playtesting and just adding some extra stuff here and there. Because I think I stopped building at a point where I was like, oh, maybe I'll go back in and I'll fix some things up and I'll add some more things around. And then I didn't add it in every single place. But I was struggling to decide what bed I wanted to have underneath of it because I didn't want the same beds in there. And I was like really just trying to make it seem like they have the loft bed and then they like just like threw in another bed that they just bought underneath it. And I don't know if it looks good, but that's the story that I was telling myself while I was doing that. But doing this build did like make me fall in love with some items again, like the werewolf toddler bed and the loft bed that I had in the other room, but also some base game items too, like this double bed. I end up using the sunflower swatch instead of the red swatch, which is something that I haven't used in a long time, but I really do love it. And there are like some staple pieces in base game that I use in every single one of my builds anyway, so it still felt really nice building this because I still had a lot of like my comfort items that are my go-tos that I like use in every single build. And I definitely appreciate the werewolves build buy again because I feel like for years it's kind of gotten lost with like all of the new content, and then I find new favorite items and then the other ones just like I forget about after a long period of time. I mean, like I've always used the werewolves desk, which is like the white desk in the kids' room. I love that one, but I've never used it in the white swatch. I always use it in the dark wood, so I decided to try something different for that, and I think it looks really pretty here. Just don't look at the two bathrooms for too long. I really don't like them, and they feel like mirrors of each other because it's the same stuff, so I was trying to have it so that the toilets weren't facing the right direction. I think they should be functional too. One of them, I felt like maybe there wasn't enough space, but we'll see in a little bit when I start playtesting everything if it is functional, which I'll be getting into shortly because there isn't much left for the build except just adding some more items into the bedroom and adjusting some of the lighting and changing out some of just the base lighting that I put down just to help me see while I'm building. And I was using a lot more lamps as more like decorations because of it being limited packs. So I was like taking lamps but making the lights really, really dim just so that I could have like something on there without having to just use the same sorts of pieces of clutter in every room. So there are Sims already at my front door, which is a good sign because it means that this is completely functional, which I was worried about this part mostly not being functional. I was also worried about this area, so like have her check your weight. Is the fact that she's a fairy going to like mess up? No, because it's just a walking path. Okay. So this is all fine. I don't see how it wouldn't be back here. Was there anything else that I was worried about? There was this bathroom that I wasn't like sure if she could get in here to use the sink. Okay, everything's all right. She could probably use the toilet. I'm gonna have to make sure all this fairy dust is gone so that it doesn't actually register as using enchanted by nature. Uh, for the most part, I really think everything is functional. I am going to add in a fire alarm because I really just don't want the house to burn down while I'm doing this stuff. I usually hide these in ivy. I'll check this too to make sure it works. But I did want to go back in and possibly just change a few things around for here. I need to remember to use base game and werewolves only. I think there's only base games of these. I could use, well, that's kind of tall, isn't it? I didn't realize how tall fireplaces were. But that's a pretty color too, even though now it's really high up the TV. I don't know if it would look weirder if I put like something on the side there. But actually, I like this better because this was kind of empty. So now that gives just like it fills in the space a little bit more. I did originally want this to be lined up with the doorways, but that's just not going to happen anymore. I'm just going to have to pretend like I don't care about it as much. Probably just move these here, and I'm thinking about putting a TV off to the side, even though it probably will look weird. But I think I would like that better than it being really high up. And I will use one of the, like these TVs instead. I mean, I'm not fully sold on it, but I really just don't like how high up the TV is, like normally for that. And I kind of just want to use, there's another item that comes with werewolves that I want to maybe try to fit in. Just this, because I haven't used it. This is one of like my favorite items too, and I could probably get some more like base game books to put on top of here, maybe candles as well. These ones, and just some books. Oh wait, they're like tomes, right? The ones I'm looking for are called tomes. Why is my objects not unlocked? I feel like it always usually is. Ignore unlocks. Okay, well something reset at some point. I need to just adjust these because I think that it looks a bit weird without being closer together. Okay, that works. And well, let me check the bathroom. Yeah, I don't think I could fit in a mirror anywhere unless I put one there, which I don't know if I would like the look of that if I had a mirror above there. Well, you know what? Whatever. Let's just do it, I guess. I don't think I want to put too much stuff on the walls because I think it would get pretty repetitive to have the same sort of paintings around. You can't even tell when you have the walls down either, but I did want to just add a little bit of clutter onto here. Doesn't need to have too much thought put into this, just throwing random things in. Maybe that's like too much. Oh wait, yeah, we have so many items. Why did I leave this so empty, this room? I don't think I really looked through the kids' clutter much while I was doing that. We'll put that there too. It would be nice to have another rug in here. Let's size this one down a little bit. No, I don't like that. I need something just like toned down and not too like vibrant, which I think that one is perfect for that. Maybe just pick out some sort of clutter for in here too. Some like CDs can be placed there. Maybe these books thrown off to the floor. One of these books that are open. I didn't put any curtains in this room too, so that's something that I completely missed. I'm just going to use the same ones that I've had before. I don't know if there's a good curtain to put in this room. We'll see, I guess. No, I'm just going to leave that without a curtain. And I feel like for the most part, there really isn't anything else that needs to be added. I was more so concerned about how little stuff I ended up putting into the kids' rooms. Maybe I could see about like some more toys somewhere. Just throw a horse up there. I don't think I can get away with getting anything else in here because the doll houses are huge. And yeah, so I think I'm just going to do a brief, like, how I'll have her instantly fly, so that actually saves me a lot of time. I want her to sit here. I'm not going to play test anything else because everything else is definitely functional. I really only play test things that I'm concerned about, which was my pathway and the bathroom upstairs, but everything else, I'll double check this bed, but it should be okay too. Yeah. And now I have the screenshots of the build so you could see everything in tab mode and how it ended up turning out. I forgot to update the living room picture, so it's still what it used to be, but it's okay. I did update the bedrooms to have the clutter that I added into them because I took a bunch of pictures before I decided I was making changes to the build, and so I just had to take a couple of new ones. But thank you so much for hanging out with me today. I will see you all soon. Bye.